You are exhausted. You fall into bed every night feeling like you gave everything you had, and yet when you step back and look at your life honestly, nothing is actually changing. You are spinning at full speed and going absolutely nowhere. This is the silent crisis that no one talks about. Millions of men are trapped in the illusion of progress, confusing movement with meaning and activity with achievement. If you have ever felt like your hard work is not translating into results, you need to hear what comes next. Because understanding this trap is the first step to escaping it. Let me paint a picture and tell me if it looks familiar. Your alarm goes off, and before your eyes are fully open, your mind is already racing through everything you need to do. You rush through the morning. You spend the day bouncing between tasks, meetings, messages, and obligations. By evening, you are completely drained, but you could not name one meaningful thing you actually accomplished. This is not a bad day. This is every day. And the terrifying part is that if you project this forward 5 or 10 years, you end up in exactly the same place. Older, more tired, no further along. Most men have been sold a dangerous lie. The lie is that being busy means you are being productive, that a full calendar equals a full life, that exhaustion is evidence of effort that will eventually pay off. But activity without intention is just noise, and noise does not build anything. Here is what actually happens. You fill your hours with tasks that feel urgent, emails that need responses, requests from other people that need handling. You become a professional responder, constantly reacting to whatever is in front of you, but reacting is not the same as building. And at the end of the year, when you look at what has actually changed, the answer is almost nothing. Your income is about the same. Your body looks the same. Your skills have not grown. Your relationships are no deeper. You are busy every single day and you have nothing to show for it. This is not a time management problem. This is a direction problem. And until you recognize that, no productivity system or morning routine will save you. The man who works 60 hours a week and still feels behind is not failing because he is lazy. He is failing because his effort is disconnected from any meaningful outcome. He is rowing as hard as he can, but he never looked up to see which direction the boat is pointed. And 10 years of hard rowing in the wrong direction just takes you further from where you actually wanted to go. There is a critical distinction that most men never learn. Motion and action are not the same thing. Motion is activity that feels productive but creates no result. Action is activity that produces a tangible outcome. Most men are addicted to motion because motion feels safe. Motion lets you experience the satisfaction of effort without the risk of failure. Think about the man who wants to get in shape. He researches workout programs for weeks. He watches videos about nutrition. He buys new gym clothes and downloads tracking apps. He is in motion constantly, but he has not done a single workout. After 3 months of preparation, his body looks exactly the same. He was busy with fitness, but he never actually trained. Now compare him to another man who walked into a gym on day 1 with no plan at all. He picked up some weights, made mistakes, felt awkward, and came back the next day. Within those same 3 months, he has built real strength, not because he had a better strategy, but because he took action while the first man stayed in motion. This same pattern destroys men in every area of life, reading about business instead of selling something, planning a creative project instead of starting it, organizing your workspace instead of doing the work. Motion is where ambition goes to hide from accountability. There is another layer to this trap. Busyness becomes an identity. When someone asks how you are doing, saying busy feels like the right answer. It signals that you are important, in demand, working hard. But what you are really saying is that you have lost control of your time. You have allowed your life to be dictated by external demands instead of internal direction. Being busy is not a status symbol. It is often a confession that you do not know what actually matters. I think a lot about what separates men who escape this trap from men who stay stuck in it forever. And one thing I keep coming back to is environment. When you are surrounded by men who are focused and intentional, you start to see your own chaos more clearly. If that is something you are looking for, I have linked a community in the description. It is a place on Skool where men who are serious about discipline and direction challenge each other and stay accountable. It is not for everyone, but if this message is hitting home, it might be worth a look. The last part of this reality check is the hardest to accept. Exhaustion feels like evidence of productivity. When you are tired at the end of the day, it seems like you must have done something valuable, but a hamster on a wheel is also exhausted. Tiredness only means you spent energy, It says nothing about whether that energy created any return. Let me give you 5 principles that will help you stop being busy and start being effective. Principle 1. Define your destination before you optimize your speed. Most men focus on efficiency without ever establishing clarity. They want to do things faster, but they have never paused to ask whether they are doing the right things. Before you worry about how to be more productive, you need to answer the fundamental question: productive toward what? What are you actually trying to build? Without a clear destination, every task feels equally important, and when everything is important, nothing is. A man who felt constantly overwhelmed finally forced himself to define his 3 most important outcomes. He looked at his calendar and realized that less than 20% of his activity had anything to do with those outcomes. Within 6 months of ruthlessly focusing on what mattered, he made more progress than in the previous 3 years combined. Your first action is to identify the 3 outcomes that would most significantly change your life and honestly evaluate how much of your current activity moves you toward them. Principle 2. Guard your time like you guard your money. You would never hand a stranger $100 because they asked, but you will give away 2 hours to a pointless meeting without hesitation. You would never set your money on fire, but you will burn entire evenings on entertainment that adds nothing to your life. This is the contradiction most men live with. Time is your only non-renewable resource. You can always make more money, you cannot make more time. Once an hour is gone, it is gone permanently. Yet most men give their hours away to anyone who requests them. They say yes out of obligation. They attend events out of guilt. They let other people fill their calendars while their own priorities remain untouched. A man who felt constantly behind started treating time like currency. Before committing to anything, he asked if it was worth the hours it would cost. He began declining invitations, cutting meetings short, and blocking time for his important work. His output doubled without working more hours. Your second action is to look at your coming week and eliminate or shorten 3 commitments that do not serve your priorities. Principle 3. Track outcomes, not effort. Most men evaluate themselves by how hard they worked or how busy they felt, but the world does not reward effort. It rewards results. You are not paid for trying, you are paid for producing. Measuring effort lets you feel good about yourself even when nothing is actually happening. When you shift to measuring outcomes, you create accountability. You can no longer hide behind the story of how busy you were. You have to confront the question of what you actually created. A man who worked long hours always felt underappreciated because his effort went unrecognized. When he started tracking his actual output, he realized he was producing less than colleagues who worked fewer hours but focused more intensely. He shifted from tracking time spent to tracking results generated. Within a year, he had been promoted twice. Your third action is to identify the key outputs in your work and measure them weekly instead of measuring how hard you tried. Principle 4. Create before you consume. Most men begin their day in consumption mode. They check email, they scroll through news, they respond to messages. By the time they get to meaningful work, their energy is depleted and their attention is shattered. They have given their best hours to other people's agendas before addressing their own. High performers reverse this order. They create first and consume later. They protect their freshest hours for the work that matters most before the world has a chance to fragment their focus. Consumption feels easier because it is passive. Creation is harder because it requires output. That is exactly why most men default to consumption. But consumption builds nothing, only creation does. A man who could never find time for important projects started waking up 1 hour earlier and dedicating that time purely to creative work. No phone, no email, no input of any kind. In 90 days, he accomplished more on his personal goals than in the entire previous year. Your fourth action is to protect your first 60 to 90 minutes each day for creation before you look at any messages or requests. Principle 5. Finish before you start. Most men spread their attention across too many projects simultaneously. They make tiny progress on a dozen things but complete nothing. This feels productive because you are always working on something, but the reality is that unfinished projects create no value. They only create guilt. The alternative is aggressive completion. Instead of starting something new, finish something old. Pick one priority and pursue it with full focus until it is done. Finished projects generate momentum. Finished projects open doors. Finished projects build confidence and create proof of what you are capable of. A man with a graveyard of half-completed projects made a decision to finish one before allowing himself to start anything new. He chose the most important one and worked on it daily until it was complete. That single completion created enough momentum to carry him through the next project and the next. In 1 year, he finished more than in the previous 5 years combined. Your fifth action is to select one project you will complete before you allow yourself to begin anything else. Let me leave you with this. Busyness is not a measure of your value. It is often a sign that you have lost control of your direction. The hardest working men are not always the most successful. The most successful men have learned to channel their energy toward what actually matters instead of scattering it across everything that demands attention. You do not need more hours in your day. You need more clarity about what deserves the hours you have. You do not need to work harder. You need to stop working on the wrong things. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not an effort gap, it is a focus gap, and only you can close it. At the end of your life, no one will ask how busy you were. No one will be impressed by how many emails you answered or how many hours you logged. The only question that matters is what you built, what you created, what you left behind that would not exist without you. Right now, you have a choice. You can keep filling your days with noise, running faster on the wheel, exhausting yourself in pursuit of nothing specific. Or you can stop, get honest with yourself, and point your effort towards something that actually matters, something that will still matter in 10 years, something worth the hours of your life. The decision is yours, and so are the consequences. Stop being busy, start being intentional, and when you look back on your life, make sure you have something to show for all the years you invested. That is the difference between a life of motion and a life of meaning.